Welcome to Make Pods Great Again. I'm your host, John Woolley, content creator for the Instagram page Make Wads Great Again. Back with my bestie as always, Nikki. Nikki, how are you?
Oh, day of quarantine here, so doing great.
I don't know what day it is. Swear to God, my daughter's walked in the door on Thursday. Now, I need to preface this by saying that uh, I've been divorced since they were 3 and 5. They're 18 and 16 now. I've literally had them every Thursday for 13 years, right?
Okay.
Every Thursday. They roll in on Thursday this week. I'm sitting in the front of the house. I was playing guitar where my music room is. And they come walking in the door and I'm like, what are you guys doing here? And they're like, it's Thursday. I'm like, what? Like, yeah, it's Thursday. I'm like,
Yeah,
are you
Dad.
are you
Come
sure
on.
it's not Wednesday? They're like,
Come on,
no,
Dad.
yeah, we're sure it's Thursday. I'm like, oh my God, I've completely and utterly lost track of time. So
Damn.
welcome to the quarantine and welcome to the show, my head twin and buddy Sean Woodland. Sean, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. Like I said, I have been looking forward to this all week. Thank you so much for having me. And it's just a
No.
pleasure to talk to you too. I miss you guys.
No. Miss you too. It's been forever since we had a
No.
chance to friggin' work together, and I so am in fear that all of our
Was it?
The games, probably the last time we all saw each other, was it?
No.
was
It's
the
probably the games, maybe?
Yeah,
yeah.
it was absolutely the games was the last time. The last time I saw you.
Time flies.
Lame. And I feel like most of our chances of seeing each other again this summer are quickly disappearing, though we do have to talk at some point about the craziness that is the CrossFit Games claiming that things are going to happen at the ranch in a couple
We'll
months.
definitely talk about that.
Before we get there, we'll just kind of want to check in with you in quarantine and see like how you're doing, how life is going, especially because you're a new dad.
Yeah.
I barely have spoken to you since then. So
Yeah.
how's dad life?
Dad life is really good. I am fortunate enough that my wife has been a rock star. I mean, she's taken on the majority of the burden. He's almost 2 months. He'll be 2 months next week. So
That's crazy.
But it's funny because my life really hasn't changed that much. This whole thing. I worked from home before things started, and then Max was born on February 27th, and the plan is that my wife was going to take a significant amount of time off of work, so she was going to be home at this time anyway. So it's I'm still going about my daily life. I walk the dogs to take care of the kid, work out in my garage like I always have. So I'm one of those fortunate people. Thank goodness
That's awesome.
for that. And but we don't, and we even are friends, but not in the way that we used to. We kind of started this thing we call it driveway coffee, where we'll go and we'll run to Starbucks or a local coffee shop that we like here in San Jose, and then we'll just go deliver it to them, and then we just hang out in our driveway, stay 6 feet apart, and talk and try to make the best of that. But I have been extremely fortunate during this whole thing, and so is my wife, because she actually got an opportunity to work from home instead of taking time off. So it definitely could be a lot worse. But and I appreciate the message that John sent me, like right after Max was born, right when this whole thing started. He sent me a really nice message about how one of his daughters was born closely after 9/11, and you wonder what kind of world did you bring your kid into. And I was certainly having those thoughts when this whole quarantine thing started and things started getting super serious. And I wondered that a lot. Like, I hope I didn't bring him into like a really terrible world that's going to be this way for the foreseeable future and for the vast majority of him growing up. I hope that's not the case.
But, you did. Yeah.
But don't worry, you definitely did.
But I think that, but just hearing from when John sent me that message, that was certainly nice. So greatly appreciated. Thank you, John, for that. I don't think I've formally ever thanked you for that.
Oh man, I remember that like it was yesterday. I mean, Mira was born in November of 2001, and September 11th had just happened, a couple of months earlier. And, but at that point, like the news had ramped up kind of like it has with this, when it's all started hitting, like it's just slowly started to build and build and build until we all started getting quarantined. It's kind of what it felt like then to me. And, I had this new baby at home. You're sitting on the couch, you're holding this new baby and you're like, oh my God, the world's going to hell. We were going to war. Like it was scary, and so it felt the same way to me when this was happening. And, I don't know what triggered it. Like I saw a picture, I think, of you holding Max, and it just reminded me of when Mira was that age, and it is scary, but everything passes eventually.
Well, and that's the thing, you think about that. And I mean, that seems like yesterday when that happened. I remember right where I was and everything that happened that day. And that was nearly 20 years ago. And things
Wow,
got better.
we are old as fuck.
Yeah.
Damn, that was 20 years. You're
It was 20
right.
years, just about.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 18
18.
months away from his 20th anniversary. So, yeah, but I think that's, this is the second time in my life now where I have said things are going to be different when this all blows over. And and maybe hopefully some of it's for the better.
Yeah.
So, just try to say,
Wow. What a cool, poignant dad moment that the two of you had. That's why, I mean, it's not something you don't really even think about. You think about the people who are obviously going to work and on the front lines of all this, and the people who are stuck in their homes and maybe having a difficult time. But for you, Sean, who's going through kind of like a momentous time in your life, that's a whole nother perspective of, I think of the people who were supposed to get married and the people who even, the people who qualified and were trying CrossFit Games. Everyone had a thing, a big momentous thing in their lives right now, and that's sort of just another layer on top of all the craziness that's out there right now that you don't always stop and think about.
Yeah, but we've been really lucky to be able to deal with it the way we have. Our lives have not been disrupted too much, so
Cool.
I'm really thankful for that.
Is it everything you thought it would be? I mean, do you have your white New Balances out and your tube socks?
No, not yet. But I have no. I do value the time. I know it's funny. I know why my father used to spend so much time in the bathroom.
Oh.
The only alone time he ever got. It was so I get that. But my wife and I have a schedule kind of worked out. I'm a night owl, so I stay up a little later. She'll go to bed early, and then I usually kind of have some time to myself, which is nice. But yeah, I haven't gotten that far. I mean, I do listen. I do appreciate a well manicured lawn when I'm walking through the neighborhood. I might just stop. Ooh, that's a nice lawn. I need to do. What do you do for your lawn? What kind of product you putting on that? Those kind of conversations are being had more often. We had a friend of mine. One of our friends came over yesterday morning and dropped off some coffee for us because we were usually bringing it to them. And he said, "Hey, do you park in your garage?" I said, "Yeah, I actually have some room in here." He goes, "Oh, let me see," and opened it up. He goes, "We had just had it redone because Tommy and I kind of turned it into a studio space as well." And we just start having those stupid conversations. Yeah, you just put a couple 2x4s up there, embrace the thing, and remove. So that's,
you're like, woo! I got this dad thing down.
Yeah, exactly. So that is, I am barreling down that road.
It's awesome. You were meant for that life.
I think so. I mean, I'm just gonna go with it. I'm just gonna embrace it. I don't think I'm ever gonna, because I have Tommy there, sort of kicking me back on track. I don't think I'm ever gonna go with the full jorts with the tucked in white polo shirt and the Air Monarchs. I don't think that's gonna happen.
All right.
But there might be some clothing decisions that are based on practicality more than style in my future.
We might need to run things by Tommy first and foremost before going out into public eventually.
He's a good buffer. Yeah.
a good buffer back into the cool zone.
There are things about being a dad that make you make, questionable clothing choices. I ordered a bunch of Fit Aid the other night and they sent me a fanny pack and I got unduly excited about it in front of Megan.
Yeah.
And she's like, "You're not
put so much stuff in here."
Yeah, she's like, "You're not wearing that." And I'm like, "Yes, I am." She's like, "Not in front of me or not." I'm like, "Okay."
Because the thing they those kids don't understand is, for us, the race is over. The uniform's off.
Yeah.
We're just enjoying the post game moment. We're gonna do what we can, and yeah, if I have to wear a fanny pack to help me carry a few extra things that I might need or on my day, then gosh darn it, I'm gonna do it.
Absolutely. Exactly. Look, Ma, no hands.
Yeah,
it's so utilitarian. It's perfect. Well, I think you should both embrace the fanny pack, 100%.
I haven't gone that far yet.
I love giving new dad advice. Love it. It's my favorite thing to do. The biggest thing I will tell you right off the top, Sean, is you can't mess up a baby at all. All you got to do is feed them, keep them clean. That's it. They don't even realize you're a dumbass till they're about 10.
No, and that's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm like, you're not going to remember the fact that I just screwed this up, or you're not going to remember that. So let's just keep them alive, keep them happy, and just, day by day.
They think you're a rock star, that whole from 5 to 9 age. They just think you're brilliant. They think you're the smartest person on the planet. Nothing you can do wrong. I distinctly remember the day Megan realized that I was a dumbass, though. She had to be 10 or 11. I remember the look of disappointment in her face. I swear to God, I do. She asked me some question about her homework. And I'm like, "Oh, let me think about that." And I whip up my phone and pretend like I'm texting. And she's like, "Are you Googling the answer to this?" And I'm like, maybe.
Yeah, work smart, not hard, kid.
Yeah, right.
That's when she realized Daddy didn't know everything.
Yeah, it's like that. Dave Attell, one of my favorite comedians, said one time, he goes, "I used to think my dad was Superman. And then I got older and realized he was just some weirdo who liked to wear a cape."
Oh my God. I can't wait until your kid gets into like all the like fanfare and the Star Wars and the things that you guys can do
Yeah,
together. And
I'm,
he's going
I'm
to think that's
definitely
cool
looking
for
forward to that.
so long.
Yeah, he better because his old man does. So
Totally.
yeah,
Oh, he
there's
will. If you
a lot
do,
of
he
that.
will. Me and the girls are sitting around watching anime Star Wars today. Have you ever
Oh,
seen that?
really? I have not.
It
Which one?
dude,
It's just
it was just on YouTube. And it
all
was
right. Oh, I've seen someone did I saw someone who did like a scene that was really cool. Like
dude, it was amazing, and it's all in Japanese. And Darth Vader sounds so effing cool in Japanese. Like he sounds really pissed off. It was amazing. So good. Not that James Earl Jones isn't an amazing
right.
actor, but oh
Seriously.
my God, it was so good. So good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that stuff. I've had it in front of the TV a couple times. Like actually, right now, NBC is replaying Game 5 of the 2014 Stanley Cup Finals, where the Kings win in overtime and win the cup. And I'm like,
Amazing.
with him explaining everything that's happening and what was, he doesn't get it, but it's like, trust me, you're going to enjoy it. One day, this is part of your upbringing. You need to know
Yeah.
these moments.
You
Oh, I
gotta
love that you're doing that. It's like how some people like read books to their babies, even though they
Right.
don't understand. You like commentate over your favorite sports
Yeah.
to your kid. I
We watched,
love
we
that.
watched Game 7 of the 1993 Campbell Conference Finals, where Wayne Gretzky scored the hat trick against the Maple Leafs and put the Kings in the Stanley Cup Finals. And I explained to him, I was like, this was big because they hadn't been to he has no idea what I'm saying, but I had to practice the speech.
Oh
So
my
when he actually
God.
does, then I can explain the significance of that moment.
My heart is like bursting right now.
you gotta introduce him to rock music.
Yes. Been doing that. And it's funny. Our pediatrician is awesome. The first time we took Max in, he goes, listen, just make him part of your lives. Don't adjust your schedule. Try to make him part of your schedule. If you play punk rock at home, play punk rock at home. Get him used to it. If you watch movies, watch movies. So that was pretty cool. I was like, all right, well then I'm not going to totally ruin it.
Yeah, to this
When
day, my oldest still loves Nirvana to this day because of it.
Oh, see, that's just good parenting right there.
Yeah. Yep.
When I remember a couple years ago, I was at the ad agency I work at. We were working on like a major baby wipes brand, and we were polling a ton of parents about like what stage was the best and how did you deal with your kid when they were 6 months old versus a year old, and what did you use, and what was your schedule like, and all that stuff. And we distinctly referred to the first like 8 or 9 months as the potted plant stage, where it's like they're just there.
Yeah.
Like your life happens and they're just there. I'm like, yes, you have to feed and clothe and whatever, but like you put them in the corner and they just sit there. Like you put them there and they sit there like a potted plant in the corner of the room, and it is what it is until they start crawling, and then all goes to hell.
Right. And then the world has to move up a couple feet, then they walk, and then the world moves up a couple more feet. Yeah. It's
right. And then they drive and the world stops.
Yeah. I try to just, even in the middle of the night when he wakes up, and again, my wife is dealing more with that than I am. I just wake up. I try to just be like, yeah, this is pretty cool. This ain't forever. So try not to get upset about it.
Well, you guys want to talk about like the craziness that is CrossFit Games right now?
All kinds of fun stuff.
Dude, I don't really know how to handle the most recent news, which is the sort of declaration that the games will happen in some way, shape, or form. Like we will crown the fittest on earth. CrossFit Games tweeted it, posted it on their Instagram. How it's going to happen, where, with what athletes, like these are all questions that no one can answer yet, but it was just, it is the first sort of declaration of any kind of solid information since this whole coronavirus shit hit the fan, because we've all just been sitting here watching sanctionals get canceled and wondering what the hell is happening next and what are we going to see, what are we going to cover. So I don't know, like I don't really know how to process it or handle it. What are your first thoughts, Sean?
I think it was good for them to come out and say something, because there were a lot of people who were wondering, just from a logistical standpoint, like what do I have to do with plans that I've made to get to Madison right now. I had a buddy of mine who was planning on going with his athletes to the games, and he messaged me a couple times. He goes, "Hey, do you know anything? Because I've got like a $2,000 deposit due that's non-refundable on this Airbnb that I've got reserved by May 1st. And if they don't say anything, like I don't know if I should keep it or not." And so I think that it was good, first of all, that CrossFit came out and said, okay, here's what's going to happen. Fans, sorry, we're not going to have an event where fans can be there this year. So
you guys are out.
No, I don't have to drop a bunch of money on tickets or worry about getting to Madison at all. And then I also think it was good that they said, we are going to do something. And when Tommy and I talked to Dave, they said they're exploring all options. And I think it's good that they didn't cancel it, because I think they need to keep some sort of momentum for when after this passes and we get back to some sense of normalcy and we can start having events again.
Right.
But to your point, many unknowns about how many athletes are you going to get. Are you even going to be able to get athletes from outside the United States? How many events are you going to have?
Well, and like even just on the athletes, like, okay, so we know who qualified in the previous sanctionals, we know who qualified at the Open, we know who the national champions are, but there were a dozen other opportunities where people were still banking on their chance to qualify for games. So how you just cut the field as it was? I mean, that doesn't seem, there are so many big names that we
Yeah.
still were anticipating we're going to walk away with a sanctional win.
This is not going to be a perfect solution, but I think it's going
Yeah.
to be the best solution that they can come up with. And I think, if you had, if I were sitting in their spot right now, I'd probably say, okay, let's take everybody who qualified through the Open as far as individuals. First of all, you have to go online with the masters and the age groups. That's got to be purely online, because you just can't bring all those people out to the ranch and fit everybody unless you're going to do it on different weekends. And because you're going to do it at the ranch and that's a private residence, you do have a little more flexibility there. You could do it on 2 separate weekends.
I guess I just don't foresee that happening, only because media coverage for them already went by the wayside as of
Right.
last year.
Yeah.
So doing it online and providing updates via the leaderboard and things like that would be not quite as different. Do you know what I mean?
I would agree 100% with that. I think that is, it's highly, in my book, it's highly likely that the age groups move completely online this year.
Was I almost think that would be better for them, because if it were on 2 separate weekends and there was going to be no coverage and no whatever, then you're asking a lot of them to spend the money to go out there.
Right.
Rather than do it on their own. They may disagree, because I know that there's an argument to be made for, the competition being as legit as possible and nobody cheating and nobody this, nobody that. Like, that is all going to get very messy. So maybe it would be better in a sense if it were live, but you're also asking a lot of them to make the trip for their own little weekend that might not necessarily get as much pomp and circumstance as
right,
others.
because you still have to pay for the services to get that streamed.
Right.
And you're going to do that on 2 different weekends. That's
twice as much
money, basically. So I think we can pretty much bank on the age groups being online. I could be wrong, but things may change drastically, but I think that's where you start. You say, okay, so now we don't have to worry about that. We'll have that as an online competition. Then the teams are another thing where I wonder, what are they going to do with that? Because right now, I think Tommy and I were talking about this. They have 10 teams qualified. So that's 40, at least, just at the minimum, 40 people you got to bring out to the ranch. Now, if you're going to do that in conjunction with the individual competition, you are very quickly running out of space of where to put people on that property.
Oh,
you can maybe, the CrossFit HQ isn't too far from Aromas, so you could maybe kind of house some people, or at least sort of have them gathered there, and then you can sort of shuttle people back and forth. But it wouldn't, I don't want this to happen, but it would if they just canceled the team competition for a year and put it off until next year. Unless, again, they're going to try to do that on a separate weekend. Because it's very clear that they're focusing on the individuals, and they should, because that's the competition that everybody likes to watch. The individuals are the biggest draw. Teams have gotten bigger because of the advent of the super teams. People have more interest in it, and I think that's a good argument to possibly having it on a different weekend. I mean, there's certainly a lot of athletes at Rich Froning who people would want to watch compete.
Totally.
When you look at the individuals, and it's so hard to project how things are going to change in the next couple of months, because there's no guarantee that they are going to stick to the original date of having the games late July, early August. They may punt it another month into September to buy themselves some more time.
Well, they have no reason to. If we're not going to be in Madison and we're not sort of, stuck to the contract at the Alliant Energy Center, then there's no real reason other than, what I was going to say, other than the athletes already have that date set aside, but really everything has gone to shit. Like, there are no rules. Like, it is an absolute blank playbook at this point. You might have had a date in your mind and it might be canceled, or it might be pushed back, or it might be this or that. No one can call bullshit on that anymore, because there are no rules.
Yeah. And I think that also, if they were to push it into September, it not only gives them more of an opportunity to put together a really good online qualifier and work out all the kinks there, and give athletes enough time to not only complete the workouts, but also enough time to do a thorough review of all the tapes you're going to get. But it also allows the sanction events that are still trying to get in this year to find a weekend to take place, because right now they're all sort of scrambling. Like, we got to get done by July. Well, if you punt it a couple months, now you're giving them the month of August as well. So that may open it up to the sanction events to actually get their events in. So I would love to see them delay it a little bit. And again, just to buy themselves more time to see what is going to change with this whole situation as far as public gatherings and and allowing people in the same place. And, I
Yeah.
think that would be a smart move. And then you got to figure out, okay, well, how many individuals are we going to bring and how do we narrow that field down? Because if you're going to do an online qualifier with everybody, with all the national champions and everybody who qualified through the open and everybody who's going to end up qualifying through the sanction events, I don't know if you can just spot check one or two videos. I mean, I think you need videos from everybody that you need to watch in order to make it fair. Now, maybe they say, no, we just can't do that. We're going to have to rely on the affiliates to validate these.
Mm.
Okay. But, I think that to really sort of keep what the games are all about, you have to do as thorough a job as you possibly can to make sure that you get whatever the right amount of people that you're trying to get to aromas are, that you do that the best way possible and make sure it's on the up and up.
I'm just so concerned about the field and the people that we're missing. The dozen or so other events that were canceled that could have brought very big names, known, trusted CrossFit Games athletes back to.
When you look at the open leaderboard and you look who's qualified so far, especially on the women's side, there are not a ton of big names out there who have yet to qualify.
That's true.
So it's not ideal, but you could take, if you had to, you could take everybody who qualified through the open and you could take your 10 qualifiers through sanction events and you could start there and you could have an online qualifier. You can just say, sorry, national champions. Because look, let's be honest, the national champions who qualify through the open, who didn't get inside that blue line and who are not qualifying through sanction events, how big of a factor are they really going to be?
Well, they're not. Absolutely not.
Exactly.
Right.
So that just might have to be a sacrifice that you make. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, there are a lot of different scenarios that they could do, but I think sort of the sweet spot that they're going to try to hit is going to be 20 men, 20 women. And then if you get that, now you have 40, then you can bring the teams as well. So that's 80 people. Think back to 2016. That's exactly how many people that they had in 2016 there. Because they had 40 men and 40 women that they took to the ranch for one day. So you could maybe make that work. Now, I don't know how, where you keep everybody or, how you're going to adhere to social distancing and all that.
Right.
But it wouldn't shock me if that's sort of what they're shooting for. Now, how you get there, I don't know.
The other thing I think is that if they do punt it a couple months and then we've got more time for everyone to, figure out what the hell is going on in the world, and maybe some of the sanctioned events that are still on, because I think there's one or two that are still, yet to cancel, and a couple more that have wanted to reschedule for July. My concern is that those events, as it stands right now, even if things get a little bit better in the world, might not be able to go on just because even if, social distancing guidelines are lifted slightly, I mean, they're not just going to be lifted and we go back to normal. It's going to be like, all right, now 10 people in a room at a time. All right, now 20 people in a room at a time. And it's probably not going to be 300 people in a room at a fucking time, not anytime soon. So like, obviously the games in and of itself that they're going to have to deal with, whatever California's rules are at the time. But I mean, look at like Asbury in July. I mean, we're so close here on the East Coast to the epicenter of all of this in New York. There is no way they're going to let a couple hundred people in a place at one time in the next 2 months. It's just not happening. So
no, I would agree. I think that there are a lot of the sanctioned events right now that are, they got to figure out if we want to pull the plug and just try to regroup for 2021. Because to your point, and Tommy and I were talking about this yesterday with our patrons on our Q&A that we do with them. You got to think, can you even make money from a sanctioned event standpoint? I mean, it's hard for them to make money anyway. Those are expensive events to put on.
Yeah.
But if you have no fans and you have no vendors,
no way.
Try to put on a stream, you're not, is that worth your while?
No.
So yeah, but I think if you look at this through CrossFit sides and you say, if we took the top in the open, everyone who qualified and everyone who's qualified through sanctioned events, that's going to give us a pretty good field to narrow down. Like the fittest person on earth is in that group.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So does that, it stinks for people who thought they were going to be able to make it to the games this year, who were a national champion. But at the end of the day, when it comes to crowning the fittest, and by I mean the winner, are those national champions going to be a factor? And they probably won't be.
No.
They're just going to find a way. They're just going to have to find a way to hold as good a competition as they possibly can, and not I'm trying to think I don't want to say legitimacy, but trying to hold the best competition they possibly can, and they're going to upset some people, but that's going to be it. But not upset too many to where that they don't want to continue to be a fan of the sport moving on to the future.
I feel like that's like John's outlook on life. How do I post memes to get the point across and not offend too many people, but offend some people?
Right.
Look, you got to piss off 10% of your audience. That's the
Mhm.
rule. That's a hard rule. You at least 10%. Like they'll get it right. How many people came out the first year? How many people competed at the ranch? Do we know?
Hey, I think it was like 70 something. And that's the thing. Like if you look at then 2008 and 2009, they had gigantic crowds there. I mean, for that area, they had
Right.
and a lot of athletes. So it is doable to have. I think 80 is like the max that you can have there. So if that'd be 10 teams and then 20 men, 20 women.
I mean, think about it. Like, there's so many things. I hate to even speculate to some degree, but you invite them all out, and they've already said, at least they were anticipating this year that what was the first 3 events is, there's going to be a cut. So you could invite out 100 people, cut 40 of them on the first event. Like, it's just an expensive trip for people. That's really the issue.
Another scenario where that maybe happens online.
Yeah.
You do your first 3 events online, and then you make the cuts after that, and then maybe you do another online qualifier after that to cut down a little further if you want to include the whole field. But then time becomes a serious factor with that.
Yeah,
it just does, because you have to make sure that scores are validated, videos are reviewed, and that's not fast. Like that is not a fast process over there.
Right. I just my heart breaks for people. Like we had Steph Chung on a couple of weeks ago, and we actually had her on the day that her and I were supposed to fly to Iceland together. And she was, very hopeful for the podium at that competition and looked really good going into it too. And it's people like that who were just about to punch their ticket, and they knew, they were formulating their season properly, making sure they were spending for the competitions where they wanted to go. No one was being lazy. Specific and qualify there later on in the season. So I have time here and I have time there and whatever it is. So it's just my heart breaks for those people, because they would have and could have put on a really good show this year as athletes, and they need it for their career. Not just going for fun.
The athletes that who are kind of in not the super top elite, but are still really good and can make a little noise at the games. Those are the ones who are being hurt the most by this.
Yeah,
because they're not the ones who are vying for the huge prize purses at the games. But when they get to a good size sanction event, they can maybe earn a little money and also get themselves to the games. And then that snowballs into sponsorships and other things like that.
That's what I'm thinking. They're the people that can win a specialty event, who they might not be on the podium, but they might take it in a gymnastics event or in something out on the field. And then that leaves them with some sort of something. I do an interview with them. They get a sponsor out of that. They get to continue their career for now. Because we've talked about it a million times. These athletes are not making great money. So they need that momentum and they need those pushes. And my heart breaks for them.
Yeah. Well, and I think that is why we need. Sorry, Joe. I was just gonna say that's why we need to keep this momentum, because when we do get back to normal, we need to make sure that the sport is where it was before all this happened, so people like that can prosper.
Yes.
See, I kind of hope we never get back to normal, quote unquote. I think this whole event, the quarantine, is going to force people to think about their training differently. It's going to force them to think about the sport differently, and it's going to force them to think about gyms differently. I mean, you think of all the gyms that are probably never going to reopen, and how many of those gyms are owned by athletes. They have to start thinking about, what is life outside of competing? Can I compete and support my family? I mean, there's so many aspects, and I mean, I could talk about this for hours probably, but you start thinking about all these athletes that were banking on going to the games and getting sponsors, and what that was going to mean to them, and likely not going to happen now. And they have to start thinking of different avenues. I kind of hope it doesn't get back to normal. I want all of CrossFit to start thinking differently. The sport lives hand to mouth. It really does. Most of these gyms run on a 30-day cycle, and that's why a lot of them are going to close, and they've got to start thinking like business owners. And I do think that's going to be some of the unintended consequences and benefits of this, is that you'll see a lot of gyms come out significantly stronger. It's going to force they're young kids, because I'm old as fuck, but it's going to force these young kids to start thinking about business and how do I stay open? How do I provide more value to my members? And, how do I approach this sport differently, that I'm not so reliant on, X company to buy me a plane ticket to fly out to Iceland. They've got to start thinking about that. So there will be some positives that come out of this long term. It's going to hurt right now, and I think there's going to be an asterisk on this season. And I hate that, because it's going to be Frazier's 5th win likely. And I just hate the thought that there might be an asterisk on that, because I wanted to see him win 5, and he still might, he might not, I don't know. But, I think it's going to be a very interesting time when this is over.
That's some solid dad advice right there. Kids got to start thinking about your future.
Hey, they
It's
do.
true,
It's
because
true.
I've been
Totally.
I've been doing CrossFit since 2007.
Oh,
And
gee.
I've been to affiliates, like I belong to affiliates that I would not call businesses. They were gyms that some guy opened up because he wanted a place to work out and he wanted his friends to come over. And then he figured out, well, okay, I guess I need to start charging now. And it was never set up as a business. And those places usually don't last. And now I think, to John's point, gyms are like, oh, wait, we actually have to provide a service to our members that keeps them here, because they can take the money that they're spending on a membership every month here. They can send it to Rogue, get some equipment that they can have at home, and they don't need to ever pay me again.
Right.
I mean, now granted, you're not getting the coaching, but there's so many resources out there for people, who want to get better. But I think that a lot of businesses, a lot of CrossFit gyms specifically, are figuring out that there are other things that we can offer our members. Like, hey, you know what? If you're not able to come in for a few weeks, sure, we can rent you some equipment. You can take them. That's fine. We'll offer online Zoom classes. Like, that's been great. We can offer you a program for you if you don't want to. Let's say you want to come into the affiliate multiple times. At home permit. So there are a lot of things that I think they're going to come of this that make affiliates run better and offer more valuable services to their members.
Yes, my affiliate owner, his name is Dave. The gym is CrossFit Windrose here in tiny little Rhode Island. I have never seen him busier. He is the gym's closed, obviously. He's cranking on work all day, every day, like not working out himself, not taking care of his own WODs in order to continuously develop programs to keep members engaged. We have trivia on Zoom right after we record. I'm like hopping on a Zoom call with the entire gym so we can play trivia, that he like does a screen share and put together a PowerPoint, and just like, all the programming. He's doing nutrition. He's offering to do people's calculate their BMIs and stuff from afar. Like, it's nuts. Like, he's the type of gym owner that's going to survive because he's figuring out how to make it into a business outside of just come and work out and leave. But you're right, John, like there's a lot of people who haven't thought that far ahead.
Right.
Well,
and it's going to change things.
I also hope, and this isn't a critique of HQ necessarily, it is a little, but I hope it's going to force the affiliate owners to go, what is the $3,000 a year getting me?
Yeah.
They have to ask that question. Like, so now we're in the middle of a pandemic. We all have to close down, all of us. What's HQ going to do? And I think they've been stepping up. Don't get me wrong. Again, it's not a critique. I think they've certainly, I think they were caught unaware like everybody else. But my hope is, and, I do believe, Greg's well-intentioned when it comes to the affiliates and the community. I'm hopeful that CrossFit will, as a company, will say, okay, when this happens again, how do we better support our affiliates that we don't have to do an online competition, which was great. The online competition was a great idea, and it, seems like it was really successful, and they helped raise some money, but it's got to be more than that. Paying the $3,000 a year should get you more than just the logo and the trademark. It just should.
Yeah. Well, that's a question that was being asked even before any of this happened.
Mm-hmm.
In conversations that I've had with people who own gyms and some pretty big name people who own gyms, that's a question that they've been asking for a while, and they don't, the only thing I would ever say is that, well, if you look at, CrossFit fights a lot of battles in court and a lot of legislation that, if enacted, would have a pretty adverse effect on affiliates, and affiliates are never aware of that. Like if you go to CrossFit.com, and I think if it's like the fights section or battles or whatever, that you go there, a lot of that is lined up. But I also know, I spoke to an affiliate owner the other day, and she told me that, she just doesn't know what that money is getting her, because that they have her gym, because she lives in a pretty populated area that has a lot of options, they sometimes have problems retaining members. And when Greg was asked that question at the 10-year affiliate gala, what do I do? There are some affiliate owners that are they're like, well, we need some support. We need something from HQ to kind of help us retain our members. And what is that? And to John's, your question, I don't think there's an answer for that right now. And I think that needs to be better articulated in the future.
Well, I definitely think they need to articulate it better. I do think there's an answer to it. I just don't think they do a good job of messaging it. And I was just reading the news yesterday, and it said the number one cause of death during this COVID crisis, or the number one cause of people that get COVID is obesity. And it really struck me. As soon as I read it, I thought, man, Greg has been right this whole time.
Well, obesity as a comorbidity.
Yeah, it's like the people that are dying from it were obese, and they're speculating, and it's still speculation because this is obviously still very new, but that the thing that's causing people to die is the fact that they got it and they were obese. The obesity is like pushing them over the edge, and Greg has said that all along. This is chronic disease, right? So I think if they can do a better job of messaging that, look, we're pushing out this info, it's out on CrossFit.com. We want to get it into the gyms, help you with diet, obviously doing the exercise piece. There's been a lot of jokes running around about the at-home WODs, how helpful they are now when everybody was making fun of them, of really starting to get that implemented in the boxes and not viewing the day-to-day CrossFit as the games, which I think a lot of gyms do, and view the day-to-day CrossFit as, we're trying to get you fit, but we're also trying to get you healthy. And I think if they can do that, the $3,000 is worth it. And then I do think they need to start implementing. I mean, I hate to speculate on it too much, but I think that, if you can start helping these gyms really understand how to run a business properly, because the truth is they're run by 20 somethings in a lot of cases. Somebody's got to help these guys learn how to do it. Maybe that should be my side gig. I don't know, but
ooh,
yeah, make finances great again. But but they've got to be prepared for it. Yeah, they're not prepared for it. Like, they close for 60 days and all of a sudden they're out of business. Like, if you're not prepared for a 60-day downturn, you're screwed, and
totally.
I get it. Like, I say that, 3/4 of America wasn't prepared for it either. So it's easy for me to say I'm still working. So,
right.
No, I agree with you on the messaging part. I just think that the problem that I've had, I don't have a problem with the CrossFit Health message. I think it's fantastic, and I think it's 100% right on. The question I have always asked now for 2 years is, how are you getting that out to the people who need it? Because it's not the people who are already in affiliates, already doing CrossFit and already working out, already know all this stuff. How are you communicating outside of the bubble? And no one has been able to show me a communication strategy that says, here's to reach out to affiliates. And I think that goes back to the whole, what's that $3,000 doing for me? And if CrossFit could say, well, we're taking that and we're using it to an outreach program that's going to communicate to people outside your bubble and get them into your gym so you can help them with their chronic disease and with their obesity. Okay, now I get it. But that's no one's getting that message. At least on the affiliate side, I don't think anybody's being told, here's the strategy.
How is there a strat? There's no media. So
Exactly.
there can't be a strategy.
What? When did that happen? What? What?
I like to refer to that as the Great Purge.
The Great Purge.
Yes.
I made a joke at your benefit the other day for that, actually. I put it on Twitter, right on the CrossFit Games feed. I was very proud of myself. They put that, I don't even remember the joke now. I don't remember all my jokes, but it was when they said there are no spectators allowed. And I said, first they killed regionals, then they fired.
That was funny. Yeah, that was good.
Then they fired the media. Now they fired the spectators.
Yeah.
I was just poking the bear, man.
Yeah,
continuously poking the bear.
Every now and then you got to give them a little,
Look, you got to remind them you're still alive. I mean, I've said forever, I'm a fan, but I'm going to critique. Like, they don't do everything perfect. They do a lot of things right, but they do not do everything perfect. That's why, like, this whole conversation about the games, like, I wasn't worried about it. Now I'm worried about it thanks to you two. Thanks a lot. Jesus.
Well, I'm hoping that there's some sort of something that goes down that can at least not piss off the majority of because all of us who are fans, like, we want to see something, like,
Right.
outside of all the other logistical, yes, we need momentum to keep it going, and yeah, we got to figure out who's the fittest and all that, but like, I just want to see it. I want to watch.
Yeah,
I want to go. Obviously, I want to do my interviews. I want to be
right.
part of it, but like, I want to watch
I'm
all the
hopeful.
fittest people.
I am hopeful, given the people to whom I have spoken, that there is going to be something featuring top athletes that people around the world are going to get to watch. I don't know how many athletes, and I don't know how many events, and I don't know how many days, but there will be something called the CrossFit Games that features top athletes. Now, I don't know if it's just going to be individuals. I'm hopeful that it will be individuals and teams, but there will be something that people will get to see, because you can't, like, they have got to stream that event. Like, they would be dumb not to,
I
especially if
know.
they're having spectators. And I think that that's a way that, if you're looking for sponsorship money, if you're looking for people to get on board with this, you can promise them a captive audience. Like, we have no live audience, so we can incorporate you into the broadcast and we can do some sort of activation. And I
Yes.
give Roy McKernan a ton of kudos for this. What he did with the sponsors at the Mayhem Classic was
Yeah.
brilliant.
It was
Bringing them into the
perfect.
stream, it was awesome.
Yeah.
And I think that sort of model now is what these events need to start looking at, because they still have an audience to deliver a message to. It's not, the live and in person, that isn't going to happen for a little while. But you can still do it online, and especially with the games, with the amount of people who want to watch those top. I mean, think about all the top names that you could get there. Those are the names that people want to see.
Right.
Those are the names that get eyeballs. So there is an opportunity there, and I think that, the good news is that for CrossFit, and Tommy and I talked about this too, is that everything you need to pull this off is within driving distance. And I'm talking about from a logistical standpoint.
Oh,
You
like
can
from
fly
equipment
anybody,
to,
from broadcast stuff to, all that, to personnel. Like, you don't need to bring anybody in on a plane. Now,
Right.
obviously, you have to bring in athletes, and there's still questions as to, are we going to get foreign athletes? I have no idea how things are going to change in the next couple of months. But I do like the fact that they are looking at doing something, and I personally think it could be pretty cool if they pull it off right in Aromas. But I think to me, the sweet spot is you got to bring at least 20 athletes, at least 20 men and 20 women. There's got to be a field. I think that's a really good number that people would really like to watch.
For me, you got to bring this one reporter in from the East Coast for sure.
Yep.
For sure.
There'll be a lot of people clamoring to get out there.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I'm just excited. Like, I'm excited to see what happens with the information that we garner once we figure out who the fittest is in 2020, because I think it's forever going to be this kind of like, well, did Matt, is it his fifth win? Is next the following year's fifth with the asterisks? Is it like, do we pretend like it never happened, or do we factor it in on some weird level? Like, see what it does sort of like for the history of the sport moving forward. How do we look at it?
There's going to be an asterisk by it. It's just like when you look at seasons in the NFL where, back in the 80s where they had the strike shortened season and they played, I think, like 10 games and then they had the Super Bowl. Like, it's just going to be different. Or when, Major League Baseball or the NHL, they had the lockouts and then they got playing later and they played a shortened season. It's just different. They're still the champs. It's just different.
Yeah.
And you can even say that with the way the event's being held now with the cuts and all that. It's different than it was 2 years ago.
That's true. That's true too. Just add it to the list of sort of like changes along the timeline.
Right.
I'm not worried. I'm honestly not worried about an asterisk for Frazier. I mean, at this point, I'm a fan. I was never a fan before, but now I'm just a fan. I think he's going to go out. It wouldn't matter if you had 1,000 people there. He's going to go out and sweep it. Right. I could be wrong.
Totally.
But he's as fit as he's ever been. Like, who we kidding?
You not wrong.
They could just invite the women and just Matt and just let him run a lap around Aromas. Run up the hill, Matt, and come back. We'll give you a medal. You'll be good. Yeah.
He would hate that.
He would hate that.
He would hate that because he only wants to win when he's beating out the absolute best. And I really appreciate that about his like sportsmanship.
Yeah. And I think that's why you need to find a way to get the best there. And that might not be possible because of travel restrictions, but you have to have a really good field compete in person. I hope they start with 20. I really do.
I'll be interested to see it happen. I mean, I hate to be the realist here, but we're still talking about Major League Baseball. It's probably not going to happen. College football, it's likely not going to happen. Like, these are all sports that start right around the time we're talking here. So, I mean, I don't know.
I think that Major League Baseball is looking at options where they could compete without fans.
Well, the Indians have been doing that for years, so that's perfect.
If they can, come on. if they can figure out how to pull this off within the regulations in California that are allowed at the time, think about the fact that there'll be one of the first sporting events. I said major sporting events. To us, it's major, maybe not to the, but one of the first sporting events that has the opportunity to broadcast out to people. I mean, I think it could be a huge chance to get eyeballs onto CrossFit that maybe would otherwise not be so inclined.
I think, you know, it's tough because in order to do that, you need to advertise like, hey, we're doing this thing. And I think that one of the appeals of the ranch is that it's a private property, and they, you know, if they do it right, I don't think, and I could be totally wrong about this because I don't know a lot about it, but if they do it correctly, I don't think they're going to have to apply for a bunch of permits.
Really?
Go them through a bunch of hoops. No, because if you bus people in and don't have any mass parking out there, I don't know if you've ever been to the ranch, but there's a lot of, it's a big open, there's a lot of open space. You just bus people in and have them hang out there, and you don't tell anybody you're doing it. You know, I don't know. It's probably more like a center, or if they use an actual facility, you know, that was not a private property.
Yeah, but like, what about all the little things like, okay, so 20 athletes, 20 men, 20 women, 10 teams go. Are they not allowed to bring coaches?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
You know what I mean? Because there ends up being all these other people, or do they not have like medical staff or, you know, like local? Right. Well, they're going to have I mean, like outside of our volunteers, like you probably have to have a permit or apply to have like a ambulance on site or police detail or whatever it is, like all that little stuff. I don't know. Now I'm like, and it's too complicated now.
We don't know how things are going to change in a couple months. You know, we're looking at this through the prism that we're in right now. And if they were trying to pull this off right now in California, it's not going to happen. It just won't. But in a couple months, in September, maybe, who knows? And then if Major League Baseball, if they start to play some games and they figure this thing out, and the NFL has held a couple preseason games by then, then maybe it becomes a lot more likely. So I think it's got to be wait and see. But I do like the fact that they're saying we are going to do something, you know. And I think that if they get so far down, if like D-Day approaches here and they just like, you know, we're not going to be able to pull it off, I would hope that they would just pull the plug and say, we're going to postpone a year, rather than do something that's going to be a disappointment to a lot of people. Because I think that actually is going to be counterproductive, to hold something that isn't, that just to hold it, and where it's just like, okay, we can say we did it. Why not just say we're going to postpone it and then start fresh with the Open whenever you're going to do that, and then get people really jazzed up for a full season in 2020.
Oh, that's the other thing is if they push it back, then they're running up against the new Open.
I think in order to have the games, though, that they would be willing to do that.
Yeah, totally.
And again, like that would be a new starting point, because you've had this total black area. Okay, now you got like dead area, and then bam, we have the games, and then we're going to keep that momentum right into the Open, and then let's go. So I think that would be okay. And I don't think
there's going to be a whole bunch of them that haven't done anything, haven't done shit for months, and couldn't go to games, and then are going to be ready for the Open. So that's fine.
Well, we could just call it the Castro Family Barbecue.
Yeah, like they did in 2007. You know?
Oh my God. Can we make like t-shirts, like family reunion t-shirts? Just say like Castro Family Barbecue 2020.
I wouldn't be,
That's actually $1 million idea, Nikki. Like we have a
Trademark,
call on
TM.
Yeah, we have a call on Monday with a t-shirt guy. So I think that's our first t-shirt.
That's our first t-shirt.
The Castro Family Barbecue.
2020.
Can we put a picture of Dave with cornrows on the front?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
No, I think we need to put a picture of him wearing one of those aprons that's like the dad apron that says like Grill Master or something on it.
God, that would be so funny.
Oh, good Lord.
Oh,
shit.
I hope we're all there.
This has been awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm optimistic that something's going to happen. I just don't want it to be like that was disappointing. You know what I mean?
No.
Like I think people need to temper expectations right now. It's not going to be a full robust games of, hundreds of athletes. Just temper your expectations. But I think the good thing is that they're committed to getting a good field of individuals. I don't know about, but I think that's going to happen.
Agreed.
Yep.
What about you, Nikki? You agree?
I agree. I'm in agreement.
You have an excellent top knot going on today, by the way.
Thank you. I have fancy ribbon in it too. I Yeah, I got dressed up for you guys. Still have not put jeans on though. I'm committed to this, Sean. I don't know if you know, I'm committed to not wearing denim again until we're
Really?
out of quarantine.
I've done it a couple times. I just have to feel human every now and then.
No, I'm all set. I'm
Yeah.
all set with that. I've been baking bread and not wearing my jeans, and I'm gonna come out of this feeling strong.
Nothing wrong with that, man.
I've been fine. Ass moves mass, so you know I'm gonna be real strong at the end of quarantine.
There you go.
I'm feeling great after quarantine. I'm like working out twice a day. I play guitar a couple hours a day. It's great. This is perfect life for me.
Were you were just working out at home?
Yeah, I've got a full gym here, dude. Like
his home gym setup is sick.
No, it's
yeah, I've got it. I literally have it all. I mean, 5 years ago I took off from CrossFit for a year and I bought all the equipment. And then since then I've added a C2 bike and just got the assault bike. I've got a rower and everything I need. So like I don't need a gym. Screw the pan checks. I don't need those guys.
the only problem is with my current situation. I am out in my garage sometimes working out at 10:30 at night.
Yeah.
So, but I got to get it in. So.
Yeah. I've been doing 2-a-days, which has been really fun. And like I have the time now because I work from home, so I have like an option to be able to get there sooner or stay later or whatever. But I'm making up for it with brioche that I've been baking like every week. It is good.
There's nothing wrong with brioche. Nothing wrong with it.
No. I'm a Havarti man myself. Let me some Havarti cheese.
Ooh, yes. Cheese is also life.
There you go.
Yeah.
Hey, so we used to end this by like, saying the next sanctional coming up or the next thing coming up is this. And we haven't really had a chance to say anything in a while because everything's been hella canceled. But I have something for once to talk about. So,
by the way, I don't want to talk about cheese when you're talking about bread. That was weird. Anyway, sorry.
Oh, bread and cheese go together. No worries. No worries at all. So I signed up for a really cool online competition, and I know that sort of the world is rife with them right now, but this one's a little bit different. So I just wanted to give it a quick shout out. It's by a company called She Strong. And it's a 4-week online competition for women and girls all over the world, trying to just like unite all the femininity and badassery in this crazy ass time. And they are announcing 4 workouts on 4 consecutive Fridays. And then on Saturday, they send out a Zoom link. And on Sunday, women and girls all over the world are going to get together and do it. So the first one is coming up this weekend. And I just thought it was really cool. It's free.
Awesome.
It's on Competition Corner. You can search for it. She Strong. The O is a 0 on Instagram if you're looking for it, because every handle in the world is taken. And like, here's the first workout. It's a 20-minute AMRAP of 5 push-ups, 10 sit-ups, and 15 air squats. And on the 5-minute mark, 10-minute mark, and 15-minute mark, you stop and do 10 burpees. So it's like a little twist on a classic. And I just think it's neat. I just think it's neat how people are coming together in different ways. And, having a female-centric thing, for me, feels kind of badass.
Is like this whole thing that's going on. The social media technology is now being used for good.
Yeah, for once.
It's not just a stupid waste of time and all that stuff. I mean, it's actually being used to really bring people together in a good way.
Yeah. And I haven't seen a ton out there in terms of like for this group or for that group. And obviously like not to exclude any of the men. I love you guys too, but it was just like a cool, I like the message. I like the message. And I like, the idea of bringing women, and there's different categories. And one of them is for like young girls, like teen girls too, to get involved, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, it is nice to see social media being used for good. Like I got invited to a Zoom workout this morning for some gym in Canada. And I've thought the same thing. I'm like, man, this is being used for good. So I showed up with no pants on because I figured, it's being used for good. So I want to ruin it a little bit.
Yeah. On their parade. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank God for them. It had double unders in the WOD. So that was even better.
Oh, damn it.
No, I will say I've done 2 or 3 Zoom workouts with gyms. I did one with the gym in Washington and this one in Canada. And it's really cool. Like, it's cool to get to see people in other communities, see what they're working on, what they're doing, see how they interact. There was some guy in the workout today. It was his first time doing CrossFit. And when it was over, I've got a photo of him. Like he's literally laying on the ground about to puke, And so to get to see to see someone's first time of nearly dying was like kind of priceless, and that part has been exceptionally cool. I hope we keep that somehow.
I do too. I took part in Tanya Wagner's gym. CrossFit Apex had their 12-year anniversary. and she asked me if I would come in and give like a 3-2-1 for a workout they're doing. They were doing a workout like every hour on the hour. They had a like workout people could come in and do, depending on what your schedule was. And it was great. Like they had like 20 people on, and they were all hanging out in their houses or outside their driveways and the garages. Like it was a blast. Like I was really kind of blown away by all the positivity on there and how much people were really enjoying it. And yeah, I hope that we remember through all this, like how important it is to be able to just be together and see each other and say hi and high five and give people hugs and how much that really goes towards making us happy
Oh,
people.
speaking of Tanya, who's like part of the OG media crew, I had a Zoom call yesterday with like our
I
OGs.
saw that. I'm
Oh
like,
my
why did I
God.
not get this memo?
So it was the Zoom invite came from Jeremy Austin in Australia. So I'm sure that he might have missed people and the timing was way off all over the world, but it was like Jeremy, Ted Ramey, Brandon Domain was on there, Logan was on there, Ryan, Canada Ryan was on there, Nick Zielinski was on. I mean, like all these people who I haven't seen in ages who are like our OG little crew. And I know that Jeremy gave a shout out to you, Sean, too, for bringing us all together so many years ago. We've been like a big family ever since then. So it was nice to reconnect.
Bring someone new on board because we had a really good group.
We did. Oh, memories. All right. We'll cut it there. Cut that out. Cut my singing out.
I'm actually gonna lead the entire podcast with you singing. That's gonna be our intro music from now on. That's so good. Lord.
Yeah,
I know. I'm gonna write a little song and make you sing it.
Do it.
Yeah.
You guys should have like an opening jingle or something.
No, well, I should at least put my music to greatest.
Please, God, no.
Yeah. I mean,
no, John is actually the musician. Can we please not? Because we we have those 2 subscribers, our moms right now. And,
your mom would love to hear you sing, Nikki. Trust me.
Oh, God,
she would.
Good Lord.
She would love that. All right. Well, Sean, it's been fun. I appreciate you being on, man.
It's my pleasure. Like I said, I've been looking forward to this all week. Great to see you guys.
Thank you so much. This is fun.
Anytime.
Always a good time. All right, guys. Well, I'll let you guys, we'll let Sean get back to his New Balances and his dad life. And Nikki can get back to singing and drinking her basic bitch drink, whatever she's drinking right now. I don't know. But we appreciate you guys being on. And for everyone listening, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back shortly. And you guys take care.